Session was recorded live in St. Louis, Missouri for the 2001 Annual International Association of Square Dance Callers. This is tape number 22, Target Marketing.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good. I hope everybody's enjoying the convention so far. Good. The title of this session, as you probably all well know, is Target Marketing. First of all, I'm just going to give out a few small ground rules, and then I'll introduce our lone panelist today. This is a tape session, so if anybody has any comments, please, what we're going to do is, after I get through introducing, I'm going to take this microphone and set it over here at the corner. Since it is a tape session, we want everybody's comments and questions on tape, so I'm going to ask you to please come up to the front. Now, then that may if it's tough for some, then we'll swap microphones and this type of thing. But if you have any questions or comments, please come up here to the front, grab the microphone, and speak into the microphone so it'll show up on tape. And that's basically all the ground rules that I want to make sure that everybody was aware of. Just please make sure it's on the microphone. I'm going to introduce now the panelists for today. Our panelist today is Otto Wartemen. Otto Wartemen began calling in 1967. He has been a member of CALLERLAB since 1976. He has been married to his wife Nora for 43 years, and together they have had exhibition dance groups for 28 years. He has been a salesman for more than 33 years, with more than 30 years on straight full commission, which means he has no guaranteed salary. He only makes what he happens to go out and sell. He has been a panelist at numerous national, state, and local dance festivals covering such varied topics as one-night stands, exhibition dancing, styling, smooth dancing, and the use of television, radio, and print as marketing tools. And you may have seen several of his articles in American Square Dance magazine on such topics as marketing and selling. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, give a big welcome, Otto Wartemen.
Stop pushing in a minute. There. Good afternoon. I see that we have some square dancers and we have some callers. This is the second time that I've been asked by CALLERLAB to do or conduct a panel on marketing and or a panel on anything really. But I enjoy it and I'm thrilled to be here. The topic of target marketing is a very emotional topic with me. When I was asked to do it last August, or the end of August, 1st of September, I said I needed to go back into my books and re-educate myself so that when I presented the subject, I had some statistics, I had things that would carry the weight, and I wouldn't be up here just spouting figures. And so I'm going to give you a handout when we finish, and it will tell you where I got it all. But the United States Census Bureau is one of the areas that I tapped. I also tapped the Southern Baptist Church in Nashville, Tennessee. I also tapped such organizations as the Selling Bible by John Lawhorn, Targeting Families by Robert Voltaire, and Marketing Places by Philip Kittler. And some of the figures that I give you are actual what goes on. And you're going to have to bear with me because I am going to use some overheads. One of the first things that I want to tell you is that nothing, if you'll read Ralph Waldo Emerson's, every great and commanding moment in the annals of the world is a triumph of some enthusiasm. Somebody has to be enthusiastic. And we've got another one that says, and this was a quote by John Lawhorn. It says, I hope you can read it. It is true that enthusiasm has sold more than all other things combined, but it was confidence that caused the salesperson to react with enthusiasm, and it was competence that gave him or her the confidence. Truth is that competence has sold more than all other things combined, but it is enthusiasm that gets the credit. Okay? And I'm going to relate that to teaching in class. In that if you have a student, and in the last 30 minutes of a class, you did not just practice everything you learned, and they left the class that evening not feeling competent, had no confidence, the likelihood of their returning is not very good. I use the word that I can't hardly pronounce. Trepidation sets in. And they decide on the next Tuesday night, do I really want to go? Because, man, I can't understand the thing that's going on. And it was all caused by a caller that didn't reinforce their confidence with competence. Because in every action, there is a reaction. And if you don't create the competence, you can't get the confidence. And without the confidence, you don't have enthusiasm. So that's how you build enthusiastic dancers. For more than 30 years, I called for clubs throughout East Texas and the Houston area. And I called a couple of times a year at Colorado at a Dude and Guest Ranch. And it was during those trips to the Dude and Guest Ranch that Nora and I learned to call one-nighters. When you call to people for 5 or 6 nights that have never square danced, and it's a continuing thing, and you do after parties, your repertoire really increases. It's something that you never had to do for a club. You had a one-nighter, and the next year you had another one-nighter. But when you have to call 5 or 6 nights, you had better get good at it quick, because they can tell. I'm going to use some people here. I need someone that comes up and will help us. And Vernon is going to write. He told me that he was going to be Vanna. And this is the Wheel of Fortune. The first thing that we're going to know is what's the product that we're selling. I wrote to some members of the board to ask what were the benefits of square dancing. So we're going to start. We've got to get y'all involved. Here's a piece of tape. We're going to take this chart here. We're going to paste them up over here on the wall. We have someone who's going to carry some notes for us. Physical benefits. Somebody name a physical benefits, and I'll repeat it for the tape. Exercise. What kind of exercise? Cardiovascular. Write that one down. Can you read? How do you spell that? That's the reason I had him doing it. Okay, cardiovascular. Next one. Next thing that's a benefit in exercise. What? No, exercise. Mental? No, I'm talking about regular exercise. Physical. What? No, I'm asking for physical now, though. Okay. Agility. Yeah. What does it do to your heart? Increases heart rate. Another one. Heart rate. Yeah, but we're gonna get a lot of lists. The more buzzwords you have, the more fuel that you have to sell with. What's another one? Low impact. Low impact aerobic exercise. Okay. Increases what? Muscle tone. What else does it do? Burns fat. We are a testament that we call too much. Okay? You have a non-smoking atmosphere. Tape. Runner. Okay? Non-smoking creates, I bet you probably ought to tape it on the carpet so we don't pull the wallpaper off. They're doing that in the lobby. Creates body rhythm. Everything you're doing is in beat to the music. What else? Increases lung capacity. Y'all never even thought about that, did you? Can I give you some more? It is non-alcoholic almost everywhere. I said almost. I don't know, in Milwaukee, do they still dance in some of the... Yeah, because I knew at the late Dale Wagner had a club that danced in the back of a family parlor. That's the way of putting it. Mental benefits. What are the mental benefits? Okay. Reduces daily stress. What else does it do? Stimulates the brain. If you don't know the benefits of square dancing, you can't sell it. Can you imagine a car salesman trying to sell a car and he doesn't even know anything about it? All he's got is, I can get you the best price in the world. And his price is going up against somebody else's price, and if they have one little buzz thing in it, it's better. He's lost. Here we go. Sharpens listening skills. And believe it or not, sometimes I don't think this works. Increases retention. We don't have a whole lot of sticky either, do we? Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
Along with mental memory.
Right. And stimulates retention. It develops new motor skills that the brain does not have to operate to do. It just... And it does something that we don't ever think about. Last night when they called cross trail through and find the corner, what happened? It got real loud. Everybody screamed. It creates pride in accomplishment. Social benefits. There's a lot of benefits in square dancing, and we don't really realize it. I had one demonstrated to me just a moment ago. Hugs. Okay? You meet new friends. Teaches courtesy. That's one I do not have on my list. Thank you.
How about fellowship?
An activity that you can do, a recreational activity you can do with your spouse or partner. Whole family. Reduces inhibitions. There are people that have come to square dance that never touched another human being in the world, hardly. Reduces inhibitions. You cannot believe I was a shy young fellow. Believe that, huh? Creates social ties. You never think about that. All the friends that you have, all the people. There are people that came to this event. Bob Howell told me, he said, I come to this thing to learn from other people, but more to see my old friends than anything else. Creates business contacts. Okay? You're networking. And I had that covered with family. 3 generations can participate together. It's clean. I don't want to use the word Christian, but it's wholesome. Wholesome entertainment. Those are the benefits. Now, how many times have you said, oh, we have a lot of fun? And that's all you told them. We need to go back, when we go back to our homes, And we need to remember all the benefits in square dancing. And there are many, many more. If we sat down and wrote them out on a pad, I sent a thing out to Nassar, and I said, tell me the benefits of square dancing, and break them down in 3. And he sent me back some stuff. And he was one of 2 people that sent something back, and the others never sent anything. I was really disappointed. Target marketing is a deal where you choose your target. You decide who your target is going to be. Wow. Which one? Okay.
Did you intend to leave out low cost or inexpensive?
I don't look at that.
I think it's the least expensive activity that anybody can do.
Well, I'm sure it is, and but I didn't consider that as being a physical, mental, or social benefit. It was a financial benefit. There are a lot of sports that you can enter that are fairly inexpensive once you get past the initial outlay of money. But and in square dancing, we have a constant costume closet increase, and so I didn't list that. Plus the cost of the RV. Thank you. Target marking. Target can be an object with a marked surface that is shot at. Okay. I made these slides, and y'all going to look at them. Yes. You're through. You can sit down, Vernon. Give him a hand. Okay? It can be anything that's aimed at or fired at. An object of criticism or attack, something viewed as an object to be acted on with a view to transforming the sliding sight on a surveyor's leveling rod, or a desired goal. And that's what we're going to talk about, the desired goal. And a goal is nothing more than the purpose towards an endeavor is directed, an end, an objective. And when we talk about marketing, we're talking about offering to sell, to deal in a market. So now I'm going to get to the meat of what I want to present. The structure of the American family from 1960 to 1990. And you're going to really be shocked at what went on during that period. You can, okay.
Too many words on that.
It's that heavy type. In 1960, if 61% of the households in America had one male breadwinner and a housewife that raised the family, had the homework done, had supper ready when the husband came home. 10% of the American families had one income, or a single parent, a one parent, 10%. And then all others combined were 29%. But in 1990, the breadwinner, male breadwinner, was only 22%. And the big thing that changed was now both parents are working at 56% of all households in America. So when we look at our target, we have to remember our target is busy. If they're anything like me, I spend 11 hours commuting, working, eating lunch, and commuting back every day. And then single parents, or one income, was 22%. That's the big change that happened in a 30-year period. During that same time, single parent growth in 1960 was 9%. In 1970, it was 15%. 1980, 22%. 1990, 29%. Single parents. I look at targets as where are we going to go? And I look at the churches that I call for, and I see where their energies are put. And the Baptist church is one of the fastest growing churches in America. The non-denominational churches are the fastest. So when I went and start digging up a bunch of statistics, I looked up between 1970 and 1995, Christians grew. But when you look over here, if I get to my page here where I've got my good figures, the Baptist church grew 42.8%. The Catholics grew at 14.2%, and the Jewish faith decreased by 16.4%. I call for a Baptist church, or several Baptist churches, that have 12 ministers for youth in each church. And their philosophy is that if you bring the youth into the church, the parents will follow. And our philosophy has been, we're going to go to Arizona, we're going to go to South Texas and South Florida, and we're going to call to all the seniors who are all dying. And then when we go out to do our advertising, the only people we have to show on television are people that look like grandparents. And these kids don't want to dance with their grandparents. So we need to look at our target. And our target is not Arizona and South Texas and Florida. It has got to be in the families. And we've got to produce something that's going to make those families come to us. When we look at Christian denominations, that's where they're at. National Baptist, 3.5 million. Presbyterian, 3.6 million. Mormons, 4.8. And again, here's the Catholic at 61 million in the United States. Southern Baptist, 15.6 million. And they're doing something right. They're doing something that we are not doing. But they have a better message than we do. I guarantee you. How many of you are retired? Okay? Have you ever thought about moving?
Not very long.
Look at the population change in the United States. You can't hardly see this here, but Texas, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Washington State, right straight up the Continental Divide, is the greatest population increase in the United States. Georgia is the only one that's not there. And that's why you saw the House of Representatives is going to really change with the redistricting, because those states are getting additional members. So if you're out and you say, hey, I think I'm going to move someplace else, the population is going there. The Baptist church, the churches are moving their churches to the suburbs where the young people are at. Houston's Second Baptist Church of Houston, had in 1978 450 members. In the year 2000, they had 25,000. They built a second campus about 15, well, not even 15 miles, about 12 miles west of where they were at. They built it in an area that is a tremendous growth area. And guess who's living out there? 40-year-old parents with little children. We did a dance for them, and in fact we've done several. And I'm not kidding you, I didn't see anyone in that place over 45 years old. I did a father-daughter banquet in a church, and there wasn't anyone over 40 hardly. They went where the young people are going. Because if you stay where you're at, the people that are 60 years old or 70 years old, they're back in the inner city. They're back because they didn't move. They're going to stay in those houses. But if you want to get the youth and the young adults, you're going to have to put the clubs where the people are living. And the closest club to this church is 10 miles away. We don't have any clubs in that area at all. So when you target, you've got to find out a company will set a goal. We're going to market this product. First thing they do is they go out and they research who's going to buy it. They develop a sales plan, they train their salesmen, and then they go out to sell it. But the salesmen are trained. And when we look at square dance calling in our careers, we didn't do that. We trained callers to call to ready-made dancers. And I am thrilled this weekend when Jim Mayo said that one-night stands and the CDP program was going to be an integral, big part of CALLERLAB for the future. Because we have got to create the callers that call that program somewhere along the line. In fact, I left out a whole bunch of stuff that I had written down here. And I tell you, I got into this thing and got off my outline. The big thing that I've always felt was that, number one, I said it about 15, 20 years ago, that a caller should never get paid a flat fee from a club for teaching a class. He should be paid a commission by how many he graduates, he or she. When the caller, and let me give you the reason for this. In selling, 80% of the sales are sold by 20% of the sales reps. And 20% of the sales reps sell 80% of the goods. 80% of the sales reps only sell 20% of the goods. So why you have very, very successful people, and then you have people that just go along for the ride. They're getting their commission check. They're barely making the ends meet. And they're the guys that have to have a base salary. And they're just barely making it. But callers, if they were, and some of you are going to really disagree with this, if they were paid by how many they retain in the class and how many they graduate, the calling would change. The list would be not important at all, because you would pamper those people, you would sell to those people like you could not believe. They would become your lifeblood. But as long as you get that check, no matter who's there, it's not a big deal. But if you got paid only by who you graduated or who was there, like the professional callers, they're working on, what, 2/3 or whatever it is. They're working commission. How many are there? If they call a great dance, they have a huge turnout the next year. But if they don't call a very good dance, they don't do real well. That's the reason they're so good at what they do. They work hard at their skills at coming forth with a great program. And that's what we have to do in teaching. Because number one, because a dancer enters a class doesn't mean that they're sold on square dancing. I see it all the time that we think that the dancer came to fun night and we own them, and then the next week we don't have them. Now I'm going to give you some areas to target. Number one, churches. That's the number one target. The number two target is square dancing offers a lot of benefits. I would say that at every library in the country there are books that have the corporate information about the companies in your area. And I'll show you some slides. This is the University of Texas Manufacturer's Guide, Small Business Research, University of Texas. With this information, I can tell in Corpus Christi that one company has 9 employees. I can tell what their dollar volume is. I can tell who their president of the company is. I can also find out what their phone number is. I will tell you, in a company of 500 employees, they're going to have someone that is in charge of wellness. And you need to contact the person in charge of wellness. You need to go to your library. You need to research all your assets. Here's another one. This is again the University of Texas. But we go over here, Trinity Industries. 250 to 499 employees. Export business. $25 to $50 million a year. You don't think they don't have a budget for wellness and social activities for the employees? I guarantee you. Tuboscope International. 1,000 to 4,900 employees. You call them, you find out who their HR person is, human resources, who the wellness officer is. All this is in your public library. I don't care what city it is. Here's one. $99 million a year, 325 employees. Here's another one up there. $59 million, 195 employees. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for corporations where you can go in and tap with their employees, do company picnics, do things of that nature. These things are in the Dun & Bradstreet, Kohl's directory, Standard & Poor's. You can find out how much money they're making, who their CEO is, the financial officer, and what you want to do is before you ever send them a letter, you need to make sure that all the information you have is current. Because these books, every time they go to press, there's mistakes in it. So you want to make the phone call, find out who these people are. And I had to make 20 calls a day. Phone calls. And outside sales. I sold videos. I sold corporate identity videos, training videos, safety videos, anything that had to do with safety and marketing. And I am telling you, there are barriers to get into companies that you cannot believe. I told someone that I sold $200,000 worth of videos to a company, and I saw 4 corn crops. I called on them for 4 years. So if you don't have the stamina for it, find someone that does. And I truly believe it's not your club's responsibility to do this, because you're in business for yourself. A caller is in business for yourself. And you say, well, no, I call for a club. Well, if you call for a club, then you're hired help. But I guarantee you, you're in business for yourself, because you write down every year, April 15th, you file your taxes, and here it is. You're telling them how much you made, how much you spend, what your expenses are, and you're declaring you're in business for yourself. And can you imagine General Motors going out and marketing and having the customers do the marketing? They'd never sell a car. What are the benefits to a square dance club to go out and sell for you? Because there's 2 things, the biggest 2 things in a budget for a square dance club is 1, hall rent. 2, callers fees. What happens when the club starts dwindling? What's the first thing they have to tap? It's not the hall rent. It's the callers fees. So you're in business for yourself, and it's time that the callers start doing their own marketing. And if you're worried about what, and I'm really into this. If you're worried that our list is too long, that's not the problem. The problem is the presentation of the list. I guarantee you, if they are having fun every night, they don't care how long it is. They really don't care. The club is are the ones that care. In fact, years ago I said, don't you dare give them that handbook on square dancing. Because then they're looking at this pyramid they got to climb. All these numbers, all these moves. My God, I'm never going to learn that. I better drop out now. I don't have time for this. It's given them all these reasons over here to stack up that are negatives towards the benefits they're going to receive over here. Don't give them any negatives. If they look up and you tell them, well, it's going to be 30 weeks we're going to go, 2 hours a night. I'd never tell them that. In a heartbeat, I wouldn't tell them. I'd tell them, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a progressive dance. Every Tuesday night, we're going to have a progressive dance, and we are going to help you physically. Physically, we're going to help you. Guess what? I'm skipping 2 of the overheads, 3 of the overheads, 4 of the overheads. I don't need to see all that. I made a mistake coming to St. Louis. I tried to do some marketing. I tried to sell some square dancing to some churches. This is St. Louis church directory. Went to the internet, downloaded the yellow pages. So I sent some emails to some Baptist churches because here we were. Greg Anderson, myself, a bunch of us, we were here Saturday and Sunday. I had a whole bunch of people here. Why not have a Saturday night dance? Instead of sitting around shooting the breeze, we all call a one-nighter for a church or university. And I didn't use my assets. My assets are the Baptist Student Union minister at LSU, the Baptist Student Minister at Texas A&M, the Baptist Student Union minister at University of Texas. I didn't call them and ask them to send a letter. I sent the letter. And your best salespeople are your customers. When a guy sells furniture, and that furniture gets into that house, and it really looks good, friends come over, and you're sitting there and you say, golly, I bought this over at Haverty Furniture or whoever it is. And he said, wow, it's great stuff. And man, you have got, the salesman we had was just absolutely great. The customer is selling the product for the sales rep. And I'm going to give you something that we had Saturday. I couldn't believe it. My whole trip was paid for with that. You'll love it. One of the couples took a digital picture of all the people at their one-night stand with their kids. They said, then they posted on the board, this is our website and the password, and if you would like to have a copy of this picture, just visit our website and you can download this picture. Guess what happens? When they enter that website, they're leaving their email address. Now he has a mailing list. And they had fun. I'm telling you, that was the best idea of the whole weekend for me. Targets. Jim Hensley hit on it. I thought he was reading my mail because I had overheads. He didn't. Fastest growing population in the United States, the Asian community. We have not tapped it. 104% in a 10-year period. They're the highest per capita educational group, highest in education, highest in financial, and highest in family structure of any group in the United States, the Asian community. And I'm going to tell you, if you get into the Asian community, they communicate amongst themselves. I got into the Southern Baptist Church, and I guarantee you, I was telling somebody earlier, I hardly ever quote a fee. They all know what I charge because they all talk. The ministers get together and they'll say, who did you use at your youth camp this year? We used Otto and Hot Rod Wartemen from Houston. Are they any good? Oh man, you've got to hire them. You get a phone call from Mississippi, and I'm in Houston. To go to Mississippi to call a one-nighter. It's crazy. We've been blessed. I'm telling you right now. We have ministers out there doing our selling, and I'm telling you, that's what you need to do. Here, white, non-Hispanic population, 4%. Blacks increased by 13. Hispanics, 53. Asians, 108%. And I bet you we don't have 100 in the whole United States dancing. Someone earlier said that they were really thrilled to see the fathers with their daughters in these father-daughter dances. Here's something that we didn't know. In a short period of time, men have become more attentive to their families and their family wishes. One of the books that I was researching, it said that buying is no longer being done by the male. When the two-income family came about, the purchasing of anything is now a joint effort. by the complete family. It's a joint effort as to where they're going on vacation. It's a joint effort whether or not they're going to buy a new TV or a refrigerator. It is a community or a family event. It is no longer the father going out and buying it. And I am with Home Depot, and I am going to tell you, the kitchen remodeling is done by the women. I will tell you that. And Lowe's is kicking our fanny because they are designing their stores for women. They are very... Home Depot was a lumber yard, hardware. Lowe's went in and they put in, all their shelves are lower, their aisles are lit better, and nothing is stocked above 5 foot 6 inches tall. You go in their stores and you'll see it. It's aimed at the lady because she's the one that's shopping. So when you're talking about targets, remember what you've got to do with targets. Now, when I said you're going to have to contact these companies, you've got to be a professional at it. If you're going to contact a church, you have to be a professional at it. You need to know the name of the person, the title of the person, the mailing address of the person, a direct phone number to the person, and the hours in which they can be contacted. And you've got to keep a file on it. You can send a letter out, and I guarantee you, if you don't call within 3 days of the mailing of that letter, you'll never get a response from it. You have got to call immediately. You got to put, if I mail it on Monday, you have got to call Thursday. And if you can't get an appointment on Thursday to go see them, then you call the next Monday. I made phone calls to companies. I bet I called 25 times. But the one thing you have to do, and I don't know if I don't know what type business you're in, but I guarantee you, if you get ready to make a phone call, you had better rehearse what you're going to say time and time again before you make that first phone call. Because there are guards at the gate. You do not get into companies. The wellness officer is not going to answer that phone for you. He has a security chief that's going to answer that phone. He doesn't have time to talk to you, or she doesn't. So when you make that phone call, you have got to say, I'm Otto Wartemen. And what I normally do is I don't even say Wartemen. If I know the person's name, I say, I'm Otto, it's Bill in. Like I know him. I go in as if I am personally involved with this person. And that puts hesitation in the person that's on the other side. Goes, God, does he know him? I better put him through. You've got to cheat. When you get ready and you're going out to make that sales call, have tools. Have pictures of what you've done or what you plan to do. Have a videotape or letters of referral. I had a whole book of letters of referral by major corporations when I made sales calls. I have sent letters of referral to a church from other churches about us. 3 years ago, I sent out 1,000 letters to Baptist churches throughout the state of Texas. There were no letters of referral. There was just a letter telling about our program and what we do and listing the names of some Baptist churches. You know what my response was? Out of 1,000 letters? 0. 0. My computer is filled with the names of ministers and Baptist churches. You have got to use your assets, and your assets is the person that bought. That person that bought. And you utilize them. I went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana because of a minister in Fort Worth. Mississippi because of a minister in Baton Rouge. Texas A&M because of Square Dancers. Right there. Square Dancers brought us to Texas A&M. At First Baptist Church of College Station. We went over there and the minister says, I'm going to be fired. I can't believe we're dancing in a parking lot, and he said, I am going to be fired tomorrow.
This ends the front side of your cassette.
Next year I came up, rebooked. And y'all had a good class out of that. Yeah, the next year I came back, and I'm going to go out there to that parking lot. They have a multi-use sanctuary, and I am telling you, they had that place set up inside the sanctuary, and we're going to dance at First Baptist Church in South Texas. I could not believe it. He was there, and they asked me. I'm Lutheran. They asked me if I wanted to put my sound equipment up here up there near the altar and all. And I said, no, man, you get struck dead by God if you got up there. But we had, how many do we have out there? Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, First Baptist of Bryan calls, said, man, we found out that they had a good time over there at First Baptist College Station. So in the last 2 months, I've called 2 dances in Bryan, and all of them for Texas A&M students. Well, 3 dances. Yeah, 3 dances, because I did A&M United Methodist Church, too. And it's one person leading to another. But you've got to go out and market, because I guarantee you they're not square dance clubs calling me. No, that's new territory. And anytime you have that territory, you need to utilize it. I guarantee you I am going to have a sign up, the next one, that if you would like to come to one of our one-nighters as you're enjoying it now, please leave me your email address and we'll contact you. I guarantee you, because the Texas Federation for Square and Round Dancing is having me do a 2.5-hour non-dancer dance at the state festival. And Houston's First Baptist, Second Baptist of Houston, Kingsland Baptist are all going to be there. I have my contacts. And you've got to use those contacts. And somewhere in there, they're going to see square dancing going on in the other halls, and we're going to sell them. The people that go to churches are very, very much involved in church. And they're very much involved with their children. And they want an activity they can do with their children that's clean, exercise, wholesome, mental stimulation. All the things that we have to offer. Let me tell you about exercise. Burning 1,500 to 2,000 calories a week lowers your risk of getting diabetes by at least 25%. Doing the following exercises 7 times a week for the amount of minutes shown on the next overhead is enough for a 150-pound man or woman to lower the risk of heart attack or diabetes. And this is if you're not selling this, I have a slide here on weight. And man, Vernon, you and I flunked this. The only person I've seen that doesn't flunk this is Greg Anderson. And he flunked it. He's too light. He's supposed to weigh 160 pounds. And he only weighs 135, 145, he said. But at 5'8" or 5'9", I'm only supposed to weigh about 155, 160 pounds. I got that beat by 35. No, I'm just not tall enough. But here you go. This is the shocker. Swimming laps vigorously, 7 times a week, 20 to 25 minutes. Swimming laps slowly, 25 to 30 minutes. Bicycling stationary, 25 to 40 minutes. Tennis. Here, calisthenics light, 40 to 55 minutes. Golf, 40 to 55 minutes. Weightlifting. This blew my mind. Weightlifters. They have to lift weights an hour to an hour and a half every day to burn 1,500 to 2,000 calories a week. You ready for this? These are your selling points in square dancing. Leisure. You know how many 35 to 45 minutes a week is? If you dance every tip, it's one night. And it is at the top of the list in leisure. My God, you played shuffleboard, you'd have to belong to a club and be there every day. And even working around the house, 35 to 45 minutes. The best one is mowing the lawn, and that's you pushing it. It's not you riding it. Because riding it, where is it at? It was in there someplace. Raking leaves, 45 minutes to 55 minutes. I thought all that yard work was doing me some good.
I'm not overweight, I'm just 2 feet too short.
And you know, I hate to, I'm going to tell you all this because I was blind at what I was doing in this thing, and I chose these little things in there to put in my slide, and I didn't realize I put a blind girl with a dog. I just thought that she was walking the dog. And I looked up, and all of a sudden there was and I wasn't going to change it. But how many of you have called on a daycare center? Why does square dancing start at 7:30 in the evening or 8 o'clock? Why can't it start at 5:30? If you're retired, why can't it start at 5:30? I presented this as a question because, number one, if you start at 7:30 and they've just come home, they've taken off their shoes, they've gotten relaxed, they've had supper with the kids, there ain't no way in heck you're going to get them back out of that house. But if you go to a daycare center and say, hey, look, we'd like to have a party for all the people that bring kids to your daycare center, and we will personally pay for the babysitting, the daycare, for 1.5 hours. And we think that we can go ahead, after this is over, do this every week, and they will be willing to pay that 1.5 hours. The first time, you got to gamble. It's called R&D, isn't it? Research and development. Every company has it, and you guys are company. You're in business for yourself. You've got to have some R&D. And the R&D is if you have a daycare center and the people are picking up their kids, and one night you have all the people at the daycare center 2 blocks away in a hall, and you give them hors d'oeuvres and get together and a dance party and say, hey folks, if y'all would like to do this every week, we'll be here and your children can be down there and we can have a dance and you'll have your night out and then you'll be able to take your kids home. Have you ever thought of that? I'm seeing any response. It says a lot of blank specs. Do you see any response out there?
Not much.
I thought it was a pregnant idea. You know, I really did. I thought this was great. How many of you have life insurance? Do you see your life insurance salesman? Are you close with him? Get close with him, because he has all these people that have life insurance, and he needs contacts of people that don't have life insurance. It's called networking. So you get your square dance club, say, look, we're going to put on a party, and we're going to have this life insurance salesman invite his people to this party. Hot Rod has her hair done in Houston at a beauty shop. You're not going to believe this. What is it, about every 6 weeks, 8 weeks? They charter a bus. A bus. A whole beauty shop. All the customers. Well, what are these women doing? They're telling all their friends, man, we're going to Louisiana, go gambling. You want to ride with us? And what does the beauty shop do? They're using their customers to network to get new customers, to get additional people. You're not going to believe, call for this club in Katy, Texas. I don't call for the club. I call for a church there. And it's an agape class, Methodist church. And one of the members is an attorney. And I forgave him for being that. But his wife owns a bookstore. And you know what she does? She has a sleepover. A sleepover. She gets the mothers with the kids And they get bedtime story books out. And they have their pallets, and they sleep over till 6 o'clock in the morning, and they read stories to the kids, and the parents buy the books. There's all kinds of ways to market. We have not hardly touched the possibilities of who we can reach out and touch in marketing square dancing. There are so many ways to market the activity, and I think that corporations right now are very, very concerned with the wellness. Our company, Home Depot, is extremely concerned. We make national news on a regular basis right now by injuring customers. And we are really concerned. I guarantee you, if you make a safety violation, you can be a store manager and be gone in a heartbeat. So they are all concerned about safety. They're all concerned about health. Every Friday we get fruit baskets. We get a whole 2 shopping carts full of apples and grapes and all this stuff. And we have exercise programs like we need it in Home Depot. My God, we're lifting stuff you can't believe. But every major company has a wellness. Almost all the small companies have picnics. And I guarantee you, what I'd do is I'd go down and I'd get the manufacturer's guide at the library, and I'd start tapping in. I'd send letters, send business cards, make phone calls, because you're in business for yourself, and the square dancers are not going to do your marketing. Remember one thing, the thing that you're going to receive out of it is pay. The thing that the square dancers are going to receive out of it is not much, except new faces in their club, and some of them show a resentment towards having to drag them through class. Why not conduct your own class? If you have your own class, unassociated with a square dance club, as it was done in the 50s and 60s, new callers never call for a regular square dance club. You wanted to buy a record case and get a PA set, you went out and find the people that you're going to call to. You went out and marketed what you were doing. You didn't go in and just step in, I'm going to go call over here. What you did was you found some callers that would help you. Now, you would never drag your record case into the hall uninvited, but they would see you there and they'd say, hey, Otto, would you like to call a tip or a half a tip? And that's how you got your practice. Nowadays, they're waiting for somebody to get fired or move so they can get their club. They're not creating any new dancers, and the creation of clubs and growth was from callers that went out and found in the marketplace and created the new dancers. And we haven't been doing that, and that's what we need to do again. We need to go back to becoming professional and leaders within the activity. And I personally believe that except for the professional callers that are traveling all the time, the rest of the callers are treated as hired help. Am I right or wrong? We're hired help. We get paid. I quit a club in 1981 because I felt I was hired help. And I was making good money. Bobby Byer's been calling for that club ever since. Well, he doesn't call for it. He teaches. He teaches. And I will tell you right now, that club will tell you in a heartbeat, he does not call for our club. He is not our club caller. He's hired help. He is a class instructor. Makes $150 a night or whatever, but he's a class instructor. And that's what I was doing for 7 years at that club. And I said, I was not hired help. And Nora's been kicking me ever since, because I left the nest egg there. But that's what we need to do. We need to go out and look for those niches where we can reach out. Anybody have any ideas? Any other ideas besides what I've been preaching? Because I feel like I've been preaching. And let me tell you, if you have the opportunity to check this book out, The Selling Bible by John Lawhorn, do so? Because in selling, there's 10 objectives. It's the greeting that establishes a positive communication at the moment of contact. In other words, you have to be prepared to meet that person. You have to listen to what their needs are, hear everything they say. That's the number 2 thing. Number 3 thing, you have to elevate a prospective customer's level of dissatisfaction in what they are now doing. Bon Parrish back there said, cost. You know what it costs to bowl? How much do you pay to play golf? I know what I pay. I have to pay 3 monthly maintenance fees. I don't pay any green fees. I get to play about once a month, and it's about, now Nora plays, but it's about, my rounds of golf are about $100 a round when I get down to it. And that's not counting clubs. And that's not counting cart, because I walk and carry. It doesn't look like it, but I walk and carry. So you've got to elevate the prospect's negatives towards what they're doing. If they're bowling, that place is smoke-filled. There's people that might be tipsy, obnoxious next to them. If it's square dancing, you don't have that. If it's golf and they're out there playing golf, how many men play with their wives? They don't ever play with their wives. No way.
Because they get tired of saying, nice shot, 247 times.
And they can't tell dirty jokes at the next tee box. Okay? You've got to set up a comparison in selection. Okay? Now we're talking about selling a product and not a what I call an activity. When you're selling a product, you have to set up a comparison. But you can compare our activity against other activities. You can compare within our activity. CDP program for those busy people that only have time to dance once a month. Segregated out. Contra for those people that like to dance on the 8 count. That like to do traditional dance. Mainstream. Basics and mainstream. And for those that, you know, if you're in a contract bridge group, I guarantee you they know all about getting proficient at something. Now we're talking about plus A and C. There'll be someplace for them within the activity. And if they like rhythms and they like to dance with their spouse the whole night, there's round dancing. The activity lends itself to be compared against anything that's in the marketplace. I don't know very many people that like to go fishing with their wives because they got to take it off the hook and they got to put it on the hook. And then you got to duck. I'm telling you right now, those hooks fly. You're not going to believe this. I'm going to tell y'all a cutie. I got cut really bad at Home Depot. And I'm sitting in the hospital, and you're not going to believe it. I got cut by a countertop. The sucker, that formica, is sharp as a razor. And I'm sitting in the hospital, and this guy is standing there, and he says, I couldn't quit fishing. He was out in West Bay flounder fishing in a kayak, and he had to take a walk. Okay, so he left his rod in the kayak, and he came back, and he forgot about the hook, and he sat down on treble hook, and he embedded it in his posterior. He says, but I am telling you, I was catching so many flounder, I took my diagonals out, and I cut that dude and left it in. And I caught 7 more flounder before I came to this hospital. He was not going to quit fishing. Okay. You set up the comparison. So we had greeting, determine the needs of your prospective customer, elevate the prospective customer level of dissatisfaction, set up a comparison of what we have to offer, and then you close. And you close every night in square dancing. You don't close the first, second, or third nights of lessons. You close every night. You make them leave like they are the best dancers in the world. They had the best time in the world, and they can't wait to come back. And if you don't close every night, it is a continuing sell when you're selling square dancing. Square dancing, the moment fun is not there, they don't pay at the door. Because they vote every night with their pocketbook. And they're going to go where they get the best bang for the dollar. And it's every night they go out. Elevate the satisfied customer's level of satisfaction. Go back. If you keep track of your customers, if you keep track of your dancers, what were they doing before they entered square dancing? Have a card file on your on your square dancers. Know what activities they were in before they took up square dancing. And say, hey, one night you just look at a card and say, well, if George is going to be there tonight, I've got to go back and reinforce because I see that he's not having as much fun. I'm going to go elevate square dancing towards him. Now, what did he do before he got into square dancing? And you say, well, how many bogeys, how many mulligans are you going to have tonight while we're square dancing? I'll give you 2 hickeys, okay? And I don't know if Vernon uses hickeys, but when I make a mistake, I say, hey, folks, that's 1 hickey on me. Yeah, let's keep score. 1 hickey. I'll let them know I made a mistake. I guarantee you, they knew it, but I admit to it. So, and they feel like, my God, he's human. So, and you elevate this person's image of himself in square dancing so that he comes back the next week. And then you put that person to sell for you. He's having so much fun, get him to do marketing for you. And right now we've got such an older generation in square dancing, they're not very much enthused about a whole lot. They are just happy as hell to wake up in the morning, as Bob said the other day. Somebody asked me, he said, how you doing? I said, I am feeling absolutely great. I got up this morning and I did not see the bottom side of daisies. So put your customers, your satisfied customers, in selling, we talk about putting their goals in writing. We keep track of what our customers' likes are and dislikes. Well, you do it in square dancing. I guarantee you, there's a gal in Houston that likes me to pull out a record, Song Sung Blue. And I guarantee you, when she walks in the back of the hall, about the second tip after that, I'll say to her, I have your record. And I'll call that record. So every time I go and call, here's Ben and his wife coming in because she wants to hear that song. Don't y'all do that? Y'all ever do that? You call the people that are following you everywhere, you're going to satisfy their desires, their needs. And that's what you're doing with the non-dancer. You're cultivating this non-dancer, this target that you have, to a point of satisfaction that they're in the activity forever, and to the point that they're working for you. And if you don't raise them to that elevated spot, you won't have any dancers. Maybe that's what's wrong. Now, if you're going to go to sleep on me, I'm going to shoot you. But any questions? Any points? I've talked too much.
If it pleases everybody, well, then we'll change the format just a little bit. I don't know if you don't mind. I'm going to make it easy on everybody. I'm going to do some legwork. I'm going to put this microphone here, and then I'm going to go around. Does anybody have any questions? I'll bring the microphone to anybody that has any questions of any kind. And if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand. I'll bring it to you, and then we'll go from there. Any questions from anybody? comment. Just 1 minute. Hold on just 1 minute, Vaughn, if you wouldn't mind. State your name and then make your comment, please.
Vaughn Parrish, you did a good job, Otto.
Thank you.
I'm to the point in my age, my wife and I, we've been all over the world. We're not really pushing to get new ones again, but I get enthused every once in a while, and you've enthused me. We're fortunate. We have a dance hall out on our ranch, and we have people come there to dance, and we have the people that did the Hubble space thing when it blew up. They fixed the mirrors from the Ball Research. There's 200 of them. They come out every summer for their picnic. They pay me $10 a piece for my boy to hook a tractor up and take them for a hayride, and then I call about an hour and a half of dancing for them, and they come back. That's $2,000 in my yard, right in my dance hall. But I'm enthused about the fact that you have put across the point there is a place to target, and I think that's great.
I have a couple of more overheads while he's bringing you the mic. Once buyers have bought, they will become satisfied only to the extent that their purchase lives up to what they expected. What was I saying about square dancing? Selling every night. You have to sell every night. If you don't sell every night, you won't keep them.
Dana Shermer, Topeka, Kansas. One thing I fell into not too long ago, and Mike Seastrom mentioned it yesterday in his session, is the home schooling programs. They have to have a section within their courses for physical education. What better way than square dancing? And not only are the kids doing it, but they bring their families, the young ones that aren't even taking school, and you have a whole family activity going, and they love it. And part of my goal right now is to seek out more and more of these homeschool programs and work together with them.
In the Houston area, we have a lot of homeschooling. I had a neighbor across the street. I never tapped it. Lived across the street from that guy for 25 years. And he had 4 daughters, homeschooled them all. I've got a customer right now I'm designing a kitchen for, a doctor, a pediatric surgeon. And when I walk into their family room, they have a big TV. It was off. I've been in their home 3 times now. It has never been on. There's a music stand in there. There's a piano. There's some instruments. All 4 of their children are being homeschooled. They all are musically, are being taught music. He went on a 56-mile bicycle trip in one day with a 10-year-old daughter bicycling. Can you imagine taking your daughter or your granddaughter 56 miles in one day on a bicycle? I've got another point, and it goes back to what I said about pay for teaching. It says, a yardstick, what cannot be measured cannot be improved. And what does not get measured will not be improved. And what can be measured will be improved. And you're saying, what's he saying? I will tell you, after being in sales for so long, I've got 2 guys work for me, and they're starting to have a real problem with me. Because as a straight commission salesman, every day I looked at yesterday's sales. I needed to know how much I made. And my pay was in direct relationship to how many people the company employed. For every dollar I made, my pay and the company and the amount of money that I made for the company raised 7 families. There were 7 families working in the company from what I sold. We had 45 salesmen. We had 380 employees. And I look at it that way. And so when I look at my monthly, I look every day at my daily sales at Home Depot. I want to know how many items I quoted. I want to know how much I sold. I want to know what the IMU, individual markup. Because 40 years, that's all I've done. And so when you go out and you go call a dance, I just absolutely get devastated. If I have 10 squares in the hall And when the dance is over, I have 4. That just kills me. I said, man, I have got to have called the sorriest dance in the world. I didn't do what they wanted. And I look at it the same way in teaching class. If you start the first night with 4 squares and the second night there's 2 couples there, I'm going to tell you somebody did a terrible job of selling. You didn't convey the message of square dancing. Because you should leave them so enthused that they are going to go out. I remember they would go out and get their friends, their next door neighbors. They became your salesmen. That's the reason lessons were kept open 3 weeks, so that the class would fill. And so if I look at it as measuring how many are there, I call for LSU, Baptist Student Union. First time I went over there, 160 kids. I went back 4 months later, 450. 160 kids went out, and so, man, let me tell you, we had a party with this couple you cannot believe. We danced for 3 solid hours. No breaks. No breaks, folks. They're young. And I looked up, and there's 450 kids in that hall. Love it. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a whole lot more applause from 450 kids than there is for 2 squares. I'm egotistical as heck. And yes, sir, Vaughn. Sir?
I wanted to tell you quickly about the guy running a service station. A young man wanted a job, and he said, well, I see how you sell gas. The first car come in, and the boy went out and said, how much gas you want? He said, $2 worth. Next car come through, he said, how much gas you want? He said, I'll take $3 worth. Next car that went says, son, let me show you how to sell gas. He walked out there and said, you want me to fill it up or spill it over? He said, I'll just fill it up. I don't know if any of you know of the Red Rock Ramblers in Lyons, Colorado. I started that group about 40 years ago. The first Tuesday night we had 6 squares. The next Tuesday night we had 9 squares. The next Tuesday night we had 13 squares. And we graduated at the end of the year with 13 squares. And after 2 years we had 26 squares of club members. They're still dancing today, but a lot of them are like me. They got old, and some of them have died.
I walked into that hall one time. I was calling up at Peaceful Valley Lodge in Colorado, and I said, well, we're going to get there early. We're going to go to the Red Rock Ramblers. Walked in, and Jerry Haig was going to call. Folks, I don't know how many people y'all can put in your gym, but that gym there in that school had no sidelines. When you ran out of bounds, you ran into a wall. Right?
Right. When we started there, there's a gravel parking lot. And I said, how much do you want? I said, I'll just give me $20 a night. We'll put money in the treasury till we get enough money to pave that parking lot. When we got $2,400, that's the first thing that happened. We started our class in September, and December 31st happened to be a Saturday night. And I said, we're going to have a New Year's Eve party with no drinking. And we did, and I asked Jerry Haig and Dale Cassidy to come help me call it. They had never done an after party with skits, and I brought some overalls, put on them to do skits. Between tips, we had 64 squares that night. It's the biggest crowd that's ever been there, except one night about 12, 13 years ago, Jerry Haig had 64 squares.
I guarantee you.
And they have a crowd nearly every Saturday night. Now it's running 20, 25, 30 squares every Saturday night.
We walked in there, and Jerry Haig was calling. And every other square, when you had heads lead to the right, you had to have sides lead to the right. It was so dadgum tight you couldn't believe. If you had dropped a pencil, you couldn't bend over and pick it up. I guarantee you.
He was there probably about when he had 64 squares.
So, and we talk about the heyday, but it was marketing totally different than we do now. Last night we had a blast out there for the 1 hour of the 60s music and 60 square. The thing they did last night, that was, and I'll touch on it a little, was they didn't call it at the tempo of the 60s. The tempo of the 60s was between about 134 and 140, and we were young. When I call these things for these teens and these young adults, I'm using the clogging records from the Grand Ole Opry. I've had to slow them down because they're recorded at 156, and I've got them down to about 140. And they're young, and I crank up the sound because I need to sell them, and they're a lot younger than we are. So I target my market. My market is those people that are young, and that's what we do a lot of. So you need to target your market. What are you going to do? Prepare yourself for what you're going to call, what kind of music. Some of you were in the dance session this morning when they used Lord of the Dance to do a line dance. Man, that was not new to me. Nora goes out and she shows them how to do a clog step for the Cotton Eye Joe. 450 kids. 250 of them pick it up in 45 seconds to a minute. They're sponges. Those kids are like sponges. You show something, it goes just like that. And you can't imagine. We try to teach adults to Cotton Eye Joe, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes. And if we try to do it with clogging, it'd take all night. And it took them 1 minute.
Fred Bouvier from New Orleans. You were talking earlier about getting a hold of the wellness person or the human resources person in a company. Once you get them on the phone, what do you tell them or ask them? Or
you ask for an appointment. You say, I have an activity that I'd like to present to you, and you have all your selling points. Everything that we put up here. Everything.
You tell them everything, but you don't say square dancing, right?
I would say community dance.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say square dancing. And some of you are going to ask why. Because there is a negative out there. I don't care what the research showed. There is a negative out there. This dance that they're having at the state festival, the words square dance and teach were in there. Well, square dance was 1-0, one hickey. Adults don't go to class. You think I went and took golf lessons before I ever swung a golf club? Can you imagine me going and taking 6 months of lessons so I can learn to fish? No way. Nora got a new serger about 10 years ago. She didn't go take lessons on how to operate that serger. She made me read the dadgum book. Guarantee you. Because Nora doesn't like to read. I am just thrilled to death that in the last 6 to 8 weeks, Nora has started reading novels. I could not believe it. We've been married 43 years and she's now reading. It was not something she enjoyed doing. And she's doing it now. But those things, adults don't like to take lessons. Number one, they don't have time. But they will party. They will go and socialize. So sell those points of square dancing without saying square dancing.
Exactly. Anybody else? Question or comment of any kind? If that's the case, before we break here, I would like to echo the points that Vaughn made earlier in his appreciation to Otto and Hot Rod. And all the work that they've put in doing this presentation. Everything that you saw Otto use, the overhead, the projector, and all this type of thing was not provided by CALLERLAB, was not provided by the hotel. He brought all that stuff with him. That's his own stuff from Houston, and he drove up here. Home Depot for that entire purpose. And therefore, with that in mind, I'd like for everybody to give a nice hand to Otto and Hot Rod Wartemen for the fine presentation they put up here. Before we close, also I believe Otto has some handouts that he would like to everybody to get if you don't have some. I believe that's the presentation. I was reading along with him, and again, we thank you for your time and appreciate y'all being here. Thank you.
I didn't hit all the points, and there's a lot of good points in there.